Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going all the way back to 2006,
Yeah.
Atlantic City.
Oh, yeah.
And we are going to try to unpack the truly chilling story of the Eastbound Strangler.
Wow.
You might know it as the Atlantic City serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a case that's actually still open.
You're kidding?
I know, it's crazy, right? There's a $25,000 reward.
Yeah.
Countless leads have been explored, but they still haven't caught the guy.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're going to try to figure out why that is and hopefully offer some new insights on this case.
That's a tough one.
I know it
It's
is.
a tough one.
It is, but we've got a lot to go off of.
Right.
We've got police reports, news articles. We've even got some firsthand accounts.
Really?
Yeah. So are you ready to dive in with me?
Absolutely. I am always ready for a challenge.
Great.
You know, this case really shows you how hard it is to investigate serial crimes,
Oh, for sure.
especially in a city like Atlantic City
Yeah.
with so much going on, you know.
Yeah, it's a very transient city.
Ex-
Lots of hustle and bustle,
Yeah.
casinos, boardwalk, that whole vibe. But then there's like this dark side.
Right.
And it was in this environment that 4 women were found murdered behind a motel.
Yeah.
It was the Golden Key Motel.
Okay.
And they were left in a drainage ditch,
Oh, wow.
all face down in a row, facing east, which is how this whole case got its name,
I see.
the Eastbound Strangler.
Yeah, it's more than just a catchy name, though, right?
Right.
Like the way they position the bodies.
Yeah.
Seems like the killer did this on purpose.
Totally.
Maybe it was like a ritual or something.
Yeah, some sort of like a calling card almost.
Yeah, and understanding that like his psychology
Yeah.
could be the key to cracking the case.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got a mystery on our hands, but obviously at the heart of this are 4 victims.
Of course.
So we need to remember that these were real people,
Absolutely.
with their own stories,
They're
whose
not-
lives were tragically cut short. So what can you tell us about them?
Well, so let's start with Barbara V. Brydor.
Okay.
She was 42 years old when she was killed.
Okay.
Our sources say that she had a cocaine addiction
Oh,
and was working in the sex trade.
it's so sad.
It really is a heartbreaking story.
It is.
And what makes it even worse is that she disappeared in October of '06,
Right.
and nobody reported her missing for weeks.
That's awful.
It is.
That's tragic, and unfortunately, it's a reality for a lot of people in vulnerable communities, right?
That's true.
They kind of fall through the cracks sometimes, even when they're alive,
Sadly.
let alone when they're missing and
Yeah.
part of an investigation,
It's really sad.
And it makes you think, like, could a faster response have
Okay.
made a difference?
It does. It's a question that hangs over a lot of cold cases.
I bet.
And it kind of makes you think about, like, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The societal challenges that come with these types of crimes.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so who's next?
Okay, so next we have Mola Jean Diltz.
Okay.
She was only 20 years old,
Oh, wow.
from Blacklick, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
She was last seen just a few days before she disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Now, Molly's case is interesting because, unlike some of the other victims,
Yeah.
she doesn't have a record of working in the sex trade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they think she might have been at the time of her death.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So the investigators must have really looked into that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, was she just a random victim?
Exactly.
Or was she targeted?
Right. Was she in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Yeah.
Or did the killer pick her for a specific reason?
Wow.
And if it was random,
Yeah.
what does that tell us about the killer?
Right, like, what's his MO?
Exactly.
So many questions.
I know. It's what makes this case so
It
fascinating.
really makes you think
It does.
about all the little details.
Yeah.
Okay, so who else do we have?
Okay, so our third victim is Kim Raffo.
Okay.
She was 35 years old,
All right.
originally from Brooklyn. Okay. She was a wife. Wow. And a mother.
Jeez.
But she had turned to sex work in Atlantic City.
Wow, it's so sad.
It really is.
All these stories are just really
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But what's really striking is that she was last seen only a day before they found the bodies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really short time frame.
Yeah.
That's huge for investigators.
Totally.
It narrows down their search window like a lot,
Yeah.
and they can really focus on reconstructing what happened.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so who is the last victim?
All right, so lastly we have Tracy Ann Roberts.
Okay.
She was just 23 years old.
Oh, my God.
She came to Atlantic City from Delaware.
Okay.
She had been an erotic dancer and was involved in sex work,
Okay.
like Barbara. She also struggled with drug addiction.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And our sources say that she had been assaulted by a man just weeks before her death.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he was trying to force her to be his pimp.
That's awful.
It's a truly disturbing detail,
It is.
and it could be a major clue. You know, investigators would have definitely looked into any connection between that assault and her murder.
Absolutely.
Was it like a pattern of violence,
Yeah.
or was it totally random?
Yeah. Or was it like two separate things?
Exactly.
Oh, it's terrifying to think about.
It is.
So we have these four women,
Yeah.
all connected to Atlantic City,
Mm-hmm.
all meeting this tragic end in the same place.
Right.
And with their bodies being found in such a deliberate way,
Absolutely.
you have to wonder how did the investigation unfold? Who did they look at?
Right.
Who are the suspects?
Well, the discovery of the bodies on November 20th, 2006,
Yeah.
it was a huge shock to Atlantic City,
Huh.
you know?
I bet.
I mean, they were all found in that drainage ditch
Right.
behind the Golden Key Motel,
Yeah.
face down,
Yeah.
facing east.
It's chillin'.
It really is.
Yeah.
And for the investigators,
Yeah.
that was just the beginning
Oh, yeah.
of a long and difficult road.
And one of the first things they had to do
Yeah.
was figure out how they died.
Right.
Right. But it wasn't easy
Oh.
because the bodies were so decomposed. It was hard to say for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But in at least one case, they confirmed it was strangulation.
Yeah.
And they suspect that's how the others died, too.
Makes sense.
But it's pretty crazy to think about.
It is.
Like the limits they had with forensics back then.
I know. It's amazing how much things have changed.
Totally.
I mean, nowadays we have DNA technology
Right.
that could have helped them so much.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what they could do with touch DNA
Yeah.
or like really advanced fingerprint analysis.
Right.
But back then, they just didn't have those tools.
They had to rely on what they could see
Exactly.
and what witnesses told them.
Right.
It makes you really appreciate how far we've come.
Oh, absolutely.
But, they still did manage to find some potential suspects,
They did.
even with those challenges.
Yeah.
So who are they looking at?
Well, one of the first guys they looked at was Terry Olson. He was 41 years old and worked as a repairman
Okay.
at the Golden Key Motel.
So he was there.
Yeah, he was like the handyman,
Oh, okay.
doing odd jobs around the place
Got it.
in exchange for a room.
Makes sense.
And get this,
Yeah.
it was his own girlfriend who told the police they should look at him.
What?
Yeah, she said he was the killer.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and apparently they were having some serious problems at the time.
Oh, so maybe she was just trying to get back at him or something.
Could be. Yeah, it was a pretty messy situation.
Wow, that's crazy. So did they find anything?
Well, they searched his room
Yeah.
and they found cameras set up
What?
and pictures of his girlfriend's teenage daughter undressing.
Oh my God, that's messed up.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good look.
No, it's not at all. So what happened?
Well, despite all that,
Yeah.
they didn't find any DNA evidence
Oh, wow.
linking him to the murders.
Okay.
So they never officially called him a suspect.
So another dead end,
Pretty much.
like a really creepy one.
Yeah. It's one of those things that just makes you feel uneasy, you know?
Totally. Okay, so who else did they look into?
Well, there was this guy named Eldred Raymond Burchell.
Okay.
He called himself the Riverman.
The Riverman.
Yeah, creepy,
It's
right?
super creepy.
Especially with that whole Green River Killer thing.
Oh, yeah, Gary Ridgway.
Exactly.
So what's this guy's story?
Well, he actually confessed.
He confessed.
Yeah, to another sex worker.
What did he say?
He told her he'd kill people.
Oh, wow. So they had to look into that.
Right. A confession like that, you can't just ignore it.
No, of course not. So what happened?
Well, just like with Olson,
Yeah.
they couldn't connect him to any murders,
Oh, wow.
including the ones in Atlantic City.
So frustrating, right?
Totally. You have someone saying they did it,
Yeah.
but you can't prove it.
It's like having a puzzle piece but not knowing where it fits.
Exactly.
Okay.
So who else?
All right, so there's Charles Coles and Mark Hesse.
Okay.
Coles was a drug dealer and a friend of Kim Raffo.
And Hesse knew Kim and Barbara Brydor.
So they were both connected to the victims.
Yeah, they were in the same circles.
Okay.
The police questioned both of them,
Yeah.
but they never charged them with anything.
So they were just persons of interest.
Basically, they might have known something
Yeah.
about the victims or what they were doing,
Right.
but without solid evidence, they couldn't do anything.
So it's another dead end.
It is, and it just adds to the mystery.
Yeah, totally. So you've got these possible leads, these little glimpses into the victims' lives and their
Yeah.
connections,
Yeah,
but nothing concrete.
unfortunately not.
And that brings us to a really interesting part of this investigation,
What's that?
the possible link to the Gilgo Beach killings.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that case?
Of course, everyone has.
Yeah, it's infamous, right?
Yeah, also known as the Long Island serial killer case.
Right.
It's a scary one.
It is, and it's really similar to the Eastbound Strangler case.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Well, in the Gilgo Beach case, they found 10 bodies.
Wow.
Most of them were women,
Yeah.
and they were all found along the beaches of Long Island in New York.
Jeez. And what makes it similar to our case?
Well, a lot of the victims in both cases were sex workers.
Oh, wow.
And the way they were killed
Yeah.
and the way the bodies were dumped were very similar. It's like looking in a mirror, but the reflection is even more terrifying.
That's a good way to put it.
And because of those similarities, the investigators thought maybe they were connected.
Right.
So they looked into it.
Makes sense.
But in 2010, they said, nope.
No connection.
No connection. But then, this is a real true crime twist.
Okay, I'm listening.
In 2023, they started looking at it again.
They did? Why?
Because they arrested this guy named Rex Hoyerman.
Okay.
And he was a suspect in 4 of the Gilgo Beach killings.
Oh, wow. So they thought maybe he was involved in the Atlantic City case, too.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big development.
It is, and it shows you that the police never really give up.
That's true. They're always looking for new angles.
Yeah, they're like dogs with a bone.
I like that analogy.
Always hoping for that break in the case.
It makes sense.
But unfortunately, they ruled out any connection again.
Oh, so close.
I know, right?
It's like being in a maze.
Yeah.
You keep turning corners, but you never find the way out.
That's a good way to put it. So with all these dead ends,
Yeah.
what's the main reason this case is still unsolved?
Right. Like, what are the biggest obstacles? Yeah, so there's one more thing.
Okay, what's that?
It's actually kind of surprising.
All right, I like surprises. Tell me more.
So popular culture,
Okay.
it's actually kept this case in the spotlight,
Whoa.
which could actually help bring justice, you know?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like the Eastbound Strangler has been featured in a bunch of TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
Documentaries like, Dark Minds on Investigation Discovery.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, and the docuseries, The Killing Season, and even a Lifetime movie.
Really? A Lifetime movie? Wow.
Yeah, it was called The Long Island Serial Killer, A Mother's Hunt for Justice.
Oh, okay.
And they talked about the Eastbound Strangler case in that, too.
Wow. And what about podcasts? Has it been on any podcast?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Like, remember that Method of Madness podcast?
Yeah.
They did a whole episode on it.
I remember that one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So you're saying all this media attention.
Yeah.
It could actually help solve the case.
It could definitely help.
How so?
It keeps the story alive. People are still talking about it.
Yeah.
And that could jog someone's memory.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe someone who knows something will finally decide to come forward.
Oh, that's a great point.
Even a tiny detail. Something they didn't think was important before.
Right.
Could be what the investigators need.
It's like everyone's working together to solve this puzzle.
Exactly. It's a community effort.
I like that community effort. Okay, so we've gone over a lot of information today.
We have.
We've talked about the facts, the victims, the suspects.
Challenges.
The challenges, yeah. And even how true crime shows can actually help.
It's true.
So we still don't know who did it.
Yeah, the mystery is still unsolved.
It is. So what's the biggest takeaway here?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this case,
Yeah.
it's not just about facts and theories.
Right.
It's about 4 women whose lives were cut short.
Yeah.
It's about their families who are still waiting for answers.
Oh, absolutely.
And justice.
And it's about the people who are still trying to find the truth.
Yeah.
To hold the killer accountable.
Right.
And to bring some closure to this awful chapter in Atlantic City.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that even though these cases can be really interesting to talk about.
Yeah, they're fascinating.
They're ultimately about real people.
Right.
And the terrible impact these crimes have on their loved ones and the whole community.
For sure.
And it's also a reminder that even though it's been a long time, the search for the truth never really ends.
That's true.
So for everyone listening out there, think about this.
Okay.
What would you do if you had information? Even just a tiny detail that could help solve a case like this.
Yeah.
Would you come forward?
It's a tough question.
It is.
But it's an important one.
Yeah. Would you speak up for those who can't speak for themselves?
Powerful.
It's a question we're thinking about.
It is.
And not just for the Eastbound Strangler case.
Right.
But for any unsolved crime.
Absolutely.
Anytime that staying silent could mean that justice isn't served.
Remember, even the smallest tip could be the key to bringing justice.
That's a really good point. And until justice is served,
Yeah.
the search for answers has to continue.
It does.
Well said. Thank you so much for taking us through this deep dive.
Of course, my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Let's hope that someday the mystery of the Eastbound Strangler will be solved.
Fingers crossed.
And that'll bring some peace to everyone affected by this horrible case.